All right. Buongiorno, Gravel City Adventurers. With me this week on Gravel Exchange, I have Stefano Nucera from Italy originally, but based out of Switzerland now. Stefano,
Yes.
thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Lelan. It's all good here. Actually, it has been really tough days for my cycling, gravel riding in these days. It was pretty hard. Now that everything is open, you really want to make some kilometers out, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I was told it's never too early for wine in Italy. Is that right?
It's it true. It's true. Usually I have an uncle. No, it was a brother of my grandfather, and he was used to drink white wine in the morning together with the coffee.
There you go.
So, and actually I come from the south of Italy. In the north of Italy, usually, especially in winter, you get your coffee corrected. So with some addition of grappa in the morning. So feel free,
There
whatever you feel comfortable.
Yeah, so our viewers at home, there's a good excuse to pour a glass of wine and feel totally okay about it.
Exactly. Even if now I feel completely guilty because I'm drinking a ginger beer.
Oh,
But yeah, sorry. Yesterday was my birthday, so I drank already too much. That's why the balloons, by the way. Uh, so it was something like a lockdown birthday, but I drank already too much. So today it's okay. I sweat all my alcohol out in my ride this morning, but now it's fine.
there you go. Well, I'm sure there are podcasts completely dedicated to Italian wine, so we don't need to focus too much on that. We're here to talk about gravel. And
Yes.
I have a very basic knowledge via pictures and videos of what Italy looks like. And obviously the views are breathtaking, but it looks
Mhm.
like nothing like what we have here in the Midwest of the United States. And so we definitely want to dive in and explore with you because
Yeah.
you are very familiar with the gravel scene in Italy and the people involved in that. So tell us about, the beginning stages of gravel. When did gravel start to get introduced into Italian cycling? Because obviously Italian cycling, we're very ingrained with things like the Giro d'Italia and modern road racing. But when did this modern age of gravel start to pop up?
Well, this is an amazing question. The point is that this is a question that we can put in two different ways. If we want to talk about the surface, so we want to talk about the terrain, the gravel, so people cycling into a rough terrain, in Italy was always there. Because in Italy, for example, we have a lot of rivers, especially in the north of Italy. We have a lot of roads that are made only for, cows and stuff. And everybody was riding there. Was riding there with the one that's, we can call it the Graziella, the classic, city bike or whatever that you're using it to move it or to move around. But people were going there pretty often. If we want to talk on the other side, it's gravel as a concept, and they mean a bit more a way for exploring, being relaxed, stay with your friends, avoiding cars and everything like this. A bit more far away from being a pro, going fast, stay in a group and dress in a weird way. Well, this is something that is pretty new in Italy. And I'm not sure that is still completely developed as you have, for example, in the US, or as we can see now in the UK, it's also pretty, or in Netherlands. Now, there it's really now well established. In Italy, it's kind of brand new. I would say that it happens in the last 3 to 4 years. So we have seen a lot of people joining it because there are also some events there. Especially everything started from Tuscany, for example, with the Tuscany Trails and everything now that is developing in all, especially north of Italy, but anyways in Italy. And we can see that because a lot of people now, we are, we feel a bit in danger to stay outside there in the road because we all know how Italians ride, right? And it's because it's an ancient thing, it's a cultural thing. In Italy, we have a big company that is building cars since a couple of centuries. And so everybody's a car, all the infrastructure, all the streets in Italy are made only for cars. We don't have cycling road, we don't have anything. And so for this reason, it's all the time is more dangerous to go on the bike. And also because we also like to enjoy our life. And it's a bit better enjoying your life going into dirty roads up to the mountains without the stress on having a PR to do or a KOM to do and stuff. And this is something that actually developed in the last couple of years,
Yeah.
3, 4 years. The thing that I can tell you here as well, if I speak too much, just stop me. No worries, Leland.
Hey,
I
we're
can.
here to hear from you, and you go on and tell us all about it.
That's great. So the important thing, I think that actually, okay, getting a bit the influences from abroad, especially from US, this actually happened in Italy, especially thanks to companies that they developed really the first, I would say, prototypes or real gravel bike in the real mass or not mass market. For example, we have here in Italy this company, super historical, called 3T. They were the one putting into the market the 3T Explorer. That is probably the first prototype, a bit more than a prototype. Now it's something like is there, is a trophy. Everybody wants one of those. But this was really the gravel bike, and that is actually synonym of gravel themselves. And they not only put something in the market and saying, okay, now do it yourself and ride the bike. They also organize a culture behind it, and they organize events behind it. So the Jeroboam event that for sure we're going to talk about is actually organized by them. So that's the thing. Going with Italy is a great country with a great cycling culture. So thanks to these companies that are well established and actually great communities is well established in Italy, something break in.
So I knew we would talk bikes eventually because bikes and bike manufacturers are a big part of the fabric of Italian cycling culture.
Yeah.
Obviously, 3T with their Exploro is doing fantastic in the gravel scene. But what about the traditional road manufacturers, your Pinarello, Colnago, Bianchi? Are they embracing this gravel culture? Are they producing gravel specific bikes, or are they still lagging behind in that area?
Leland, if I have to talk really now with no schemes and stuff, we can say that at the moment, everybody has at least one gravel bike in their portfolio.
Yeah.
But is this something? Is this something backed by, I don't know, a real culture, really way? Okay, we want to make out the culture for that, or we want just to make money on a trend that is growing. This is something that I don't know, but for sure I can tell you that Colnago now has a gravel bike. Basso is another Italian brand, now have their Palta. That is really nice bike, by the way. Now there is, what else we can talk? Pinarello has one. Everybody has one.
Yeah.
But how many of those would you see in the bikes? So for example, just to give you an example, I was now following with the official podcast, the Atlas Mountain Race, right? The Atlas Mountain Race is this bike packing event, 95% on gravel. And all the bike there, most of the bike there were not Italian. And the Italian bikes that were there were 3T. I've seen one Basso, and I think that's it. Well, they were, for example, talking about mass brands and stuff. We can say that I've seen some Cannondales, some Cervelo and things like that, some Opens. But it seems like, yeah, they're embracing the things, stuff are growing, but still I truly believe that if somebody in Italy wants to go on a real gravel bike, say, okay, you know what, next year I want to embrace gravel, or now this spring I want to go out with a gravel bike, whatever, I need to buy one, they will go for the ones that were really well established in the market.
Embracing the culture. What's really interesting as I do these conversations with people all over the world, the gravel language is typically pretty universal. People are gravitated to gravel, or they gravitate towards it because to get away from the cars, the relaxed atmosphere, and the exploration, and that language is universal. But then you talk about the bikes, and we had the exact same story in the U.S. just 5 to 10 years earlier, salsa has been with Dirty Kansas since the beginning, way back in
Yeah.
2006. And it was Salsa in the United States who made the first modern gravel bike, if you will, with the Warbird. And it took Trek and Specialized, our larger US manufacturers, a few more years to really get on board with it. And it was evident that Salsa embraces the gravel culture better than most, because they also make the Cutthroat, which is made for the Tour Divide from Canada to Mexico, and
Mhm.
the Warbird for gravel events such as Dirty Kansas and others. And so it was just interesting as you were talking. I was thinking, well, that's the exact same story we experienced here in the United States.
I can tell you something. Let's talk for really 2 minutes, not more. Let's
Okay.
talk marketing. Let's talk marketing for 2 minutes. The point is that I remember also in my blog, you can see that my co-editor Andrea wrote an article about that. You need to be small to influence the market and to pioneer into something, right? Because otherwise big brands they only wants to go into a market where they know that there is a space where they can sell their stuff. So while the big brands are only doing, they're not moving really with the long range. They just want to say, okay, if there is a space here, we can fill the space. But you need small companies. And when I talk salsa, probably we're talking about a small company at the beginning, right? They
Very
were
small
really
brand, yeah.
pioneering. Yeah, they were pioneering the way, okay, people don't want anymore only to go with the bike just for fitness, but they want to explore. They want to be happy on the bike
Mhm.
again, because seems like people on the bike are not happy anymore because or they're following their numbers on their power meters or stuff, or
Yeah,
they are scared by cars, or
exactly.
performance or cars. With the gravel, we are trying to really address the people that want again to spend good time on the bike. And in order to open up this field and let people know that the bike is not performance anymore, is not sharing the road with the cars, but it's also going out there, being, enjoying the company of cows, for example, can be, and have fun on something that don't need a power meter. You
Yep.
can stop whenever you want. You can, and that's something pretty important, you can put a bag, a saddle bag or whatever on your bike, and even if it affects your aerodynamics, it's fine, because you're out to have fun and to fulfill your soul. You are not out to fulfill your Excel spreadsheets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely need to turn our focus to some of the events that are taking place in Italy, because when you talk about events, that gives us an opportunity to see the imagery. And like I talked about at the top of the show, Italy is, there's no shortage of just breathtaking views. I mean, look behind me. This image comes from Jeroboam.
Yeah.
And when I was doing a search for gravel events in Italy, it was pretty apparent, at least based on the internet, that Jeroboam is probably the leader in this modern age of gravel and exploration events for Italy. And so I've actually got a short video from them that I want to share. And I'd like for you to kind of talk to us about, what does an event like Jeroboam look like? What is the culture around gravel events in general? When you show up to a gravel event in Italy, what does it look like? And how does that differ from a more traditional road event in Italy?
So I think that to start about this topic, I actually need to say that Jeroboam is the name of a bottle of wine. And that's everything you want to know, right? Because the Jeroboam, the first event of the Jeroboam, I think that it was 4 years ago. The first event was organized only in this area of Italy, of the northern Italy, called Franciacorta. Really a place where you can see the vineyards, amazing place, landscapes, and great road, and a lot of up and down. So that's probably the most interesting thing of riding the Jeroboam. You are out in breathtaking climbs and landscapes and stuff, where really you can enjoy the presence of nature and the really biggest absence of Italy and style, wine, enjoying life. And that's what it is. But we have to put also some comparisons there. And actually, these images that you're showing here are pretty interesting. And I remember that once I was organizing this interview for the podcast with the guys that are organizing this race and are the guys of working on with 3T. And I was telling them, look, people, do we want to have a chat with you that you are the experts on which one are the races in Italy, gravel races or gravel events, gravel rides. And I remember that Eric, that we can see also in some of this image, that now he works for 3T. At that time of this video, he was just riding in this event. He told me, Stefano, if we want to talk about gravel in Italy, we have to forget about Dirty Canza, because it's completely different. While on Dirty Canza, you have these really long roads that are going through these deserts, gravel, perfect tarmac and stuff. In Italy, we don't have it. We have up and downs, and that's what we have. We have a lot of rocky terrain. We have a lot of mountains, and for sure, people that are coming here to the Jeroboam in Franciacorta on the Alps, actually. And they are thinking about really long, steady roads, of course, challenging. But this is another thing. These are more single tracks. These are more really roads inside of the nature, really rocky, really challenging, really adventurous. Of course, you're going to get an amazing reward on top of your climb, of your rocky climb, and you're going to see how cool is the landscape from there, because you really can see the trees, the green part, the vineyards and everything. But still, in order to arrive there, you need really to put the best of you on the bike and on your pedals.
Right,
That's
because
what
the full distance at Jeroboam is 300 kilometers. Is that right?
Yes, it is. But usually you take a couple of days to
Yeah,
finish it.
which 300 kilometers is about 200 miles for our U.S. based
Mm-hmm.
listeners. But the 200 miles there, as people just witnessed, is very different than 200 miles at
Yeah,
Dirty Kanza. A lot more single track, which we don't utilize in Dirty Kanza, and certainly a lot more elevation gain.
yeah,
Now, Dirty Kanza has its own elemental challenges, such as the heat and wind, which is a big factor that makes it so challenging. But it's clear the terrain is different. And with the 300K, they also have shorter distances, but their distances were made in mind with the sizes of wine bottles. Isn't that correct?
it's exactly correct.
Yeah.
So you have the 300, that is the Magnum, and then you are going the all way through to, no, sorry, the 300 is the Jeroboam itself. The 150 is the Magnum. Then you have the 75, that is the 75 centiliters, a classic bottle of wine. So it's the standard. And then you have the Demi, so the small one, the half of it, and is at 37.5 kilometers. So you are really going there. That's also another different. Dirty Kanza, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a race. So the thing that you're seeing a lot of people going out full gas, and also putting together and forming a peloton in order to arrive. And then it's super cool. That's why we like it. Here on the other side is a bit more the ride side, the party side. And in order to make the best out of this party of the Jeroboam, you are really inviting everybody to the great party. Families or newbies that they can do the 75, the demi, the 30, 35.5, the classic one, even if it's challenging, but it's the classic one. Then you have the 75, the 150 kilometers. That is the perfect thing, I believe, for somebody who wants to start challenging himself. And then you have the big one, the Jeroboam.
Yeah.
You have the 300.
Yeah, the Dirty Kanza has always been a race because let's face it, when more than one person shows up on a start line, you're going to have a race. But it's really only in the last 3 to 5 years that there's been more focus on the race itself. We've always viewed it as a personal challenge. And in the early days, everyone was a victor for finishing. But yeah, it's definitely, as it's grown and evolved and more, athletes show up to race, there's certainly the race aspect of it. But there's again yet another similarity of American gravel. You look at Dirty Kanza, we started giving out a pint glass as our finisher prize. And then
Okay.
over the years, we developed shorter distances as well. And our 100 mile, which would be about 160K or so, we call that our half pint, and they get a half pint glass. So just like the Jeroboam is using wine as kind of their metric for their distances, we were doing the same thing with pint glasses. So
Are you
uh,
coming riding it here in Italy once everything is going to be up and running again? You
let's
have to come, Leland. You have to come.
I know. So my wife and I are having baby number two. Uh,
Congrats.
yeah, around June 8th is the current due
Okay.
date. So I will have a young one, a second young one this year. Our daughter is just over 2 now. So that's really what complicates my travel right now. Once coronavirus is behind us, obviously, having a young family makes it a little more challenging. But in the next few years, I am learning through these interviews that I have a lot of traveling I need to do.
Yeah, but Italy, you cannot miss it. Have you ever been to Italy?
I've never been to mainland Europe. I've been to the United Kingdom, all 3 countries over there, but I haven't been to Europe mainland.
Okay, 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 yeah.
And
So
I
it's
speak Spanish as well, so I'd love to get into Spain and then jump over to Italy. And
yeah, you should. I don't know, put it in your once that your summer baby is gonna come out and actually will be able already to move around, to have his little walk or whatever. I think that is gonna be good.
it'll be,
Or putting him on a bike, I don't know, on a trolley or in a seat by a bike on a seat or whatever, and then he can
yeah.
come with you. You can
My
have his
daughter rides with me all the time. I've got a Mac ride seat where she sits right in front and holds onto the handlebars, and we ride single track. And so we'll just bring the whole family and make
what
a
did,
trip of it.
what does she say, by the way, whilst you are eating the single track and going super fast in dirty terrain? What does she say?
I'll tell you what she says, rápido, because I'm teaching her Spanish and
Okay.
she wants to go rápido, rápido all the time. And I say, ¿te gusta ir rápido? Do you like to go fast? And she says, sí, me gusta.
They know no fear, really.
None whatsoever. I can't show her mother what we do on the bike, but my daughter Adela, she doesn't. No fear whatsoever.
Perfect.
So Jeroboam, obviously a beautiful event where we've seen some imagery from that. There's another pretty big, and maybe this doesn't quite qualify as gravel. It's more of a bike packing event, but the Tuscany Trail. You
Yeah.
talked about how that's been kind of the difference in Italy is you've been doing mixed surface for many years. The Tuscany Trail is probably a good example of a mixture of gravel roads, single track, epic distance.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that that's really cool. I think that now they are around the 10th edition
Mhm.
of the Tuscany Trail, and it's just awesome. And just to give you a little bit of background. So before all this craziness of coronavirus happens, I was thinking, okay, I cannot do the Tuscany Trail this year because I was supposed to get married on September 2020. So I said, okay, if I have to take days off already for my wedding, I cannot take days off to do the Tuscany Trail. But anyways, it's going to be 2021. Then all this coronavirus thing actually happened. And then I said, I need to postpone my wedding. Then maybe could be the perfect way to do the Tuscany Trail, but it's not possible. I was taking it not so much seriously, but just for you to understand how is the spirit of it. Also, if we said that the Jeroboam and all the Jeroboam series that now is getting bigger because, okay, now we talked about the one in Franciacorta, but this year was supposed to be also one in the Dolomites, low mining scenario and stuff. Tuscany Trail is exactly the same of the Jeroboam series in terms of spirit. You are going there and you are going to enjoy the experience. You are going to enjoy the party. It's a bit different because actually there you are starting, of course, but then really people are just going out just to enjoy themselves. There is just a long queue of people. This year they got the records, I remember, of subscribers, really an impressive number. And people are just there to enjoy the amazing landscapes of Tuscany that are really breathtaking. Going inside of the bigger city, you're going to Florence, you're going into Siena, these really historical places and towns that are just crazily nice. And it's just a big party. People are stopping in any single osteria, the small restaurant, of any kind of small village. They're enjoying their amazing food. In Tuscany, they have amazing food. Most of the time is meat based. So all the people that are veggies or vegetarians or vegans have a bit of troubles there, but still you can find also some good food, something like super famous la ribollita. That is this kind of huge dish of vegetables steamed and cooked for a long time. It's really good, but you can really enjoy the place. And they are telling you, remember Andrea, the organizer, wrote and says all the time, you can really stay 1 week here and enjoy the old track for the old time whenever you want. And you can really stay in these small restaurants, bed and breakfast, osterias and whatever, and enjoy and sleep in real beds every night. But please, at least one night, stop and sleep outdoor, sleep outside, because you can really, because you are going, it seems weird, especially in a situation in life that you're living at the moment where there are a lot of big cities and stuff, but still in Tuscany you can find small villages with not so much light pollution, and you can really go out of this village, sleep on a field, and you are really are gonna, I don't know, smash down on how beautiful is are the stars there, the sky, the
Yeah.
fields, the vineyards. I've been studying in Tuscany for the first years of my university, and all the time I say, unfortunately at that time I was not into cycling and I could not enjoy cycling in Tuscany as much as I would now, because it's amazing.
Yeah. So one of my preconceived notions when I think about bike packing or gravel in Italy is the food and drink, right? Here in the Midwest of the US, we have pizza at gas stations, Casey's
Of
Pizza.
course.
That's what we look forward to. But my vision of bike packing through Italy is every 20 kilometers, there's this small little village with bread, cheese, wine, and some salami. Is that accurate?
Then let's talk about that, and let's talk about that in the context of Tuscany Trail. Tuscany Trail, for sure, a lot of people, because there are a lot of people from all over the world that are coming doing the Tuscany Trail. And the things that I'm doing to all my friends, for example, I have a bunch of friends from Berlin that, and from here, from Switzerland, that are going enjoying that. The thing that I say, you can find amazing pizza that you will love. It's going to be 15 times better than any pizza that you have eaten all around in the world in your life. But don't stop at pizza, because you will fall in love with it. The risk is that you are getting pizza every night. Don't do that. There is so much variety. You move from one village to the other, and you are gonna find amazing pasta. Tuscany is amazing for salami. It's really well known. We have our prosciutto, finocchione, whatever, amazing thing. Cheese, don't talk about that. I'm not vegan only because I'm in love with cheese. I can avoid meat. I eat meat something like 3 times a year when I'm going back home to my mom. Otherwise, I don't eat meat. But cheese, at least twice a day. And the Italian cheese is amazing. It's really good.
I have no doubt.
Wine, you are drinking wine. So you know probably how good is the wine there. And
Unfortunately, it's from California. I didn't have Italian wine, but
still, it's okay. It's okay. It's anyways, it's wine. And the point is that we have this culture for food that is just, at least, if for example, if everybody that I'm talking with, any Italian that I'm talking with, they know at least several recipes of different, sorry, when I talk about food I start talking in Italian, it's okay, but 7 different recipes for any single dish, and most of this is coming directly from your grandma. I just finished now working on some pizza, homemade pizza, that I'm gonna eat tomorrow. I was preparing the dough for tomorrow, and I have the recipe of my grandma, the recipe of my mom, the recipe of my mother-in-law. I have they're so different because it's a culture. It's like breathing for us. It's like talking and moving our hands. It's into our culture. And wherever you go, you can stop and you can have food at whatever, especially in the Tuscany Trail, whatever is the time. You will never find somebody telling you, okay, the kitchen is closed, so you cannot eat. Everybody is all welcome you and get you the perfect dish and the best thing that you really need after a long day of riding the bike. with his
Yeah,
body.
see, in the States, we're a lot more rigid. We have very strict open and close times, and it's not, I've visited Central and South America, and obviously the Hispanic culture is very similar to Italian culture in that respect, especially in terms of schedules and food. And so it's a very open thing. If you were to just roll up on your bike in Italy, I imagine you would be, oh, come on, let mama feed you. Mama's going to take care of you.
I have this story of this really good friend of mine. He's an ultra cyclist. He has done the Silk Road mountain race twice. This year, the Atlas mountain race. His name is Bengt, German guy. And he came to the south of Italy. So exactly in the region where I come from, in Calabria, to do a backpacking trip uh, this Christmas. And then we met because we are friends, and we met at the Atlas mountain race in Morocco. And he told me, man, your area, your land, your region is amazing. Everybody seeing us with the bike and stuff stopped us and invited us at their place in order to feed us, to give us food. Even if we didn't speak the same language, nobody, especially in the villages, speaks English or stuff, especially old people and stuff. But still, everybody was welcoming us. We understood each other, and I've eaten the best homemade food of my life. It's like this, pretty open. We like Latin country. We like actually to make this kind of things.
I'm sharing where this Calabria region of, so you weren't kidding, the very south of Italy.
Yes, I am really at the extreme part of the booth. So yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. I come from this city there in the middle. You can see that Catanzaro, exactly this one.
Yeah.
This is my town. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is where Stefano comes from.
Yes.
So this is always a difficult question, but where do you think the gravel cultural scene in Italy is going? Do you think you're going to continue to see more and more events pop up? Do you think that you will see more mass attended gravel events as you guys move into more years of growth and promotion? Or do you think it will remain similar, somewhat smaller events? And what do you think? What's your outlook for the future?
That's an amazing question. So mass events. So I don't know if, and I hope as well, that's something like an idea that I have and also a hope that I have. I really hope that there will never be so many events that are followed like for thousands of people and stuff like this. Like is, for example, a road event that is the Maratona delle Dolomiti that is pretty full of people. But I would love, and that's what I would love that there's going to be more small events. So the thing that I can see is that there are a lot of regions that are not explored, and they are amazing for gravel. For example, when we talk about gravel, we talk all the time about Lombardy, Veneto, Piedmont, of course, because in Piedmont there is this amazing rally. James likes the organizer that is from UK, like to call it a rally that is from Turin to Nice. So on this side of the Alps, so you have Piedmont, you have Lombardy, you have Veneto. Usually the events are Tuscany, of course. We can forget about Tuscany. But there are so many other regions. For example, one that I really like and I think is not explored and everybody told me that it's super good is Abruzzo. It's exactly in the center of Italy. And there are a lot of roads that you want to discover and you want to get into that. So what I see that we are gonna have more events, more smaller events. And so people can really take part of it, not only pushed by how cool is gravel, but also for the need of discovering back their own territory. Because the thing that I'm saying all the time, and this is not only about cycling and gravel, but it's also about life itself. I truly believe that the new generation, and I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about people that are younger than me, are really winning this thing because they're really starting moving slower without the need of being in competition all the time and really discover back their roots and their, I don't know, the chilled way of living. And these people are really, I'm really happy they are also getting into the gravel events and into the gravel life in Italy. I'm talking, for example, before we were talking about Eric Scaggiante. This guy is now really, it's a guy that actually moves a lot about cycling event and stuff. He participated to the Silk Road mountain race, and he's inside of the gravel scene. And he's now part of the organizers of the Jeroboam Franciacorta and Jeroboam Dolomites. And then the other two guys that are around their 30s, a bit younger than 30 years old. I'm talking about Federico Damiani and Andrea. How is the surname of Andrea? Give me 1 second. Andrea Galanti. They won the Atlas Mountain Race, and they are gravel riders. There is another guy that lives in Berlin. He's Italian. His name is Nico Bonanno. He's a frame builder, but he also organizes an amazing event that it was used to be mostly road. Now they organize also the gravel part. This is the Mogast, and this in the north of Italy. So all these people that are really taking care about their part of the world, they like to discover Italy, not only their own region, but all Italy. They're gonna really push the way. And we have as well companies that really support this thing. They're gonna really building up things, and they're gonna make things really, really happen. I'm talking about Abruzzo because there are these two guys, Montanus is their name, and they're writing a lot on bikepacking.com. Pretty famous is from them, the Bruschetta Loop, or as an American would say, is Bruschetta Loop. And they're writing pretty often this amazing this amazing route in Abruzzo, and they are gravel explorers. So, and these are also, they are a bit, I think, older. They are more or less my age, but also they are of this kind of category of people that wants to explore these gravel roads and these wild territories that we have in Italy, and they are so rich and so cool.
Yeah.
I can send you the link of this. Is Montanus, Montanus, wild, like wild, montanuswild.com.
Okay.
And anyways, you can find their tracks on bikepacking.com. They have 3 or 4.
Perfect. Yeah. Send that over, and we'll definitely get that link up on the page when we share this.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that there is a crowd of younger people there in Italy who are taking ownership and willing to jump into this space. That's always the challenge, right? Is getting the next generation to come in and get active and involved. So it's good that you've got that head start.
Yeah, because the old people usually of my age or whatever it is, the old one, I'm almost 40, so all the people, they're not like me, they're not chilled on the bike. They actually prefer to be challenging themselves in all the Gran Fondo in their local club or whatever, and watching at their watts and putting on some, we're going to talk about that. But they're busy doing something else. They're busy doing something else instead of exploring.
Well, I was going to say we've covered off on a lot of the tenets of Italian culture: wine, food, cycling, mothers.
Oh, of course.
But we haven't talked about fashion. I mean, obviously, Italy is probably the epicenter of fashion. Prada, Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana, all the fashion industry. But then within cycling, you've got Mario Cipollini. You can kind of see there. Ooh, yeah. That's what I think about when I think cycling, Italian cycling fashion. I think Mario Cipollini, and that's probably not a good image to have.
Well, for several reasons, I'm not going to talk about Mario Cipollini, but talking about fashion, it's weird. So a lot of cool brands, of course, of cycling kit are based in Italy. And there are some of those that are doing amazing job, probably most of them. We can talk about, talking about gravel, for example, Pedaled, amazing kits. And then you have, for example, Castelli, road cycling, amazing. And then who do we have? We have so many. There's pretty well established. And we talk about fashion in Italy. Everybody comes to Milan to the fashion week and stuff. But when it comes to cycling kit, it's crazy. So the point is that, as I was mentioning before, in Italy there is at least one, if not 70,000 cycling club into any single village. All of them, they have to collect their own sponsors, because they need to put some money on their, going to the old Gran Fondo and renting buses and renting this, and also creating their kits. So what they do, they take these at least 55, I think, brands, local brands, something like, I don't know, Ernesto the Butcher or Nick the Plumber or whatever it is. They collect them, they take their logo, they go to the manufacturer, they say, okay, this is the kit that we want. This is the model. We need to put together all these brands on the jersey. So really something like pack the jersey with these things. And don't forget that we need to be visible because out there on the road, it's pretty dangerous. So let's put all these things on a yellow fluo kit. So the kit is amazing because the manufacturer are amazing, but color and style, damn it. You can see really ugly thing out there. Fortunately for the gravel, people don't care so much about cars because there are none. And as well, people like to dress a bit more casual with t-shirt and stuff. Even if you go and talk with anybody out there of the manufacturer, or even worse, one of these people part of this cycling team or whatever, saying, you know what, I went out with a t-shirt, maybe it's merino t-shirt, out for a ride of 100 kilometers. Really? Are you crazy? Didn't you take your jersey or your hero suit? Man, I am basically overweight. I cannot pack myself with this kind of thing. And with a t-shirt, it's way better. And I also put a bicycle bag on the bike. A bicycle bag on the bike, really. And that's what it is, you know. It's really this pushing in this direction. But fortunately, it's changing. Fortunately, as well, we have brands that are changing as well, the culture, and also people that are riding the bicycle in a different way.
I think, in the bike packing, obviously the clothing is much more functional, but even in gravel, like you said there in Italy, here in the States, it tends to be a little bit more relaxed. You see more baggy shorts and that kind of thing. But we were talking about the future. I think the fashion within gravel, the functionality of fashion will be one of the things to change in the coming decade. Because we saw it with Education First. They sent 3 world tour riders, Taylor Phinney, Lachlan Morton, Alex Howes, so 2 Americans, and Lachlan, of course, from Australia. But they did not ride in traditional cycling jerseys. They rode in T-shirts that had no, I think it might have had a pocket on the back, but not your traditional 3 pockets. And it was just very casual. And they wanted to have this intentional casual look about them while they were participating in this gravel event. So I think for the middle-aged men that tend to dominate cycling right now and be all about that lycra and that fluorescent, I think we'll see a shift in what they're wearing at gravel events, especially.
Yeah, I can tell you also, just to talk about myself, not too much, but actually, for example, when I go out, because I go out also with my road bike, and when I need to go to take all the mountains and stuff, I also like to have the normal kit with my 3 pockets and stuff. But when I go out for a ride with my gravel bike here in around Zurich, there are amazing tracks for sure. The thing that I usually do, I put on top of myself something like, okay, the bib behind, because you need to have the bib underneath. And then I put something like the shorts that I use are trekking shorts, normal trekking shorts with a lot of, not so many, but still the classic and really well done pockets there, because that's what you need. And then on top, I usually put something like a 3/4 sleeve jersey, because you're a bit more protected. If the day that I will find these kind of same technicalities inside of the cycling kits, so for example, that shorts that are not so baggy but not so slim, with not so many bags and stuff and pockets and stuff, but normal ones, and also a merino 3/4 sleeve regular jersey, then I will be the happiest person on the planet. And of course also, but I wear capellinos all the time because I like them. So
I do as well. Plus, guys like you and I, we got to stay protected from the sun and
exactly, it's dangerous.
Well, we've got a few more minutes here. There's one last subject I feel we need to cover off on, and we couldn't talk to an Italian without talking the Gran Fondo, right? Because for me, as an American, the Gran Fondo is a bit of a mystery. It was supposed to be this, not a race, but it's timed, and now there's a world tour circuit for Gran Fondos. And so tell us, one, I guess help us identify what exactly is a Gran Fondo, at least how did it start? And did that play any role into gravel, or did they stay completely separate? So tell us
I
a little
hope
bit
they're
about
gonna stay completely separate, man. I will tell you two anecdotes about that. I will start from the beginning, saying before tackling the anecdotes, I will start from saying the Gran Fondo is basically a bicycle race, like it can be Milano San Remo or whatever it is, but for amateurs.
Mhm.
Still, even if they are amateurs, you would be impressed on how many people just collect sponsor and they will earn their life and pay their bills and pay their rents just by participating to those. There are a couple of these people that have, I don't know how many thousands of fans on Instagram, Facebook and stuff. They are earning their own life just with that. And that's what it is. This actually means two different things. The first anecdote that I want to tell you, I have a friend of mine, and he's part of the organization of some of these events, the most important ones. And he tells me all the time that there are so many people, because how does it work? Usually, the better you are in the other Gran Fondo during the year and also in the year before, the better is your position in front of the group at the start.
Mm.
So he receives so many emails from people and say, "Oh, you know what? In the grid, actually, I am number 97. According to the results of this year, last year, and 2 years before, I should be 32. Can you please change me and put me a bit more on the front?" And this friend of mine says, "Man, what the hell does it change for you if you are 97, 2000, or whatever? You're not gonna win anyways." But for them, it's something to put on their belt. And that's crazy for me, because for me, I've done also some Gran Fondo, but usually the thing that I do, I go out, I ride my bike, and usually, I like to talk with people while riding. And if I arrive in 7 hours or I arrive in 3, who cares? I'm there to enjoy it. That's usually why I usually spend 7, 8 hours on the bike, because I like to do that. But for many people, this is the goal of their life, to arrive first, or let's say, to arrive in the first 250 at Maratona delle Dolomiti. That's the goal of their year. And that's crazy. The second anecdote that I want to tell you, last year I was doing also another one of these super important Gran Fondo. Beautiful, by the way. I really recommend to everyone. That said, I don't want to say to people, don't come to Italy to do a Gran Fondo. It's beautiful. If you want to challenge yourself or whatever, take it with the right spirits. Because I think that riding the Dolomites with this spirit is not sane at all, is not sound, is not good. Go there and enjoy your life. But because the landscapes are amazing. But that's what happened. I was in this Gran Fondo, one of the most important one. They were opening as well last year edition, an amazing climb that were here that they were not doing. I've done it. It was amazing. But I ended up, because I like it, I ended up on the broom wagon, because I was tired. There was an hailstorm. It was crazy. And then I said, okay, I arrived on top of the mountain of the penultimate climb. I was doing already 170, 180 kilometers. I don't remember. I think I'm okay. I give up. It's fine. I'm going to jump on the broom wagon. I feel comfortable there. In that broom wagon, it was a big one. It was a bus. It was 60 people. Everybody was in that bus was complaining and saying, what the hell? This year I'm doing like this, probably because I've eaten too much. I didn't train in the right way. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. But wait a second. And they were calling the people at Tom, they were following the transponder of the other friends, or let's call them friends anyways, group mate and stuff, club mate and stuff. What Stefano is doing? Where is he? Really? He's already there? Or even worse, what Leland is doing? Did he crash? Did he stop? Good for him. He didn't deserve to arrive this year. And I was there. I remember that I said, really? I put on my headphones and I said, go ahead. That's why I'm so happy that the gravel scene is moving faster and in another direction, because I cannot stand.
Yeah.
I am the less competitive person on the planet for everything, about cycling, about work, about everything. And listening to this stuff, it's not sound.
Yeah. And that's been one of the keys of gravel, is to move away from that competitive mindset, not just in sport, but in life. To
Yeah.
free ourselves from a feeling like we have to compete against everybody, and just being comfortable with setting a personal goal and trying to achieve it.
Yeah. What about you? Are you a competitive guy?
Once upon a time, But
Okay.
yeah, about 6 years ago, I met my wife, and I was at an age where I was ready to put the bike racing behind me. And I'm proud to say I had some nice achievements on the bicycle. I was a mountain biker before gravel, and then even on some gravel events, I was able to fare well, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. But I never took myself or the racing too seriously. It was always just a way for me to push myself and challenge myself. Being around other people and competing with them helped push me harder to get better results for me. So when I stepped away from racing and moved into being a husband and a business owner and a race organizer and a father, um, I was totally okay with that, because now I get to create experiences for everyone else to enjoy what was a hobby of mine that became a lifestyle and a career. And now it is my life, where I get to talk with Stefano from Italy, who's living in
Yeah.
Switzerland. And we're chatting about what gravel looks like in Italy. And I'm sitting here knowing that my part in Dirty Kanza helped influence this whole thing worldwide. And so it's just an honor far greater than any placing I ever got in a bike race.
You know what I can tell you? And really, I don't want to keep you people here for a long time, but I just want to make a small point about Dirty Kansa. The cool thing, and about being competitive or not, the good thing, in my opinion, of not being competitive is that you are open to develop yourself and your own things.
Yep.
Here, I just want to make the example of Dirty Kansa. If even if Dirty Kansa is probably the best known gravel race in the world, but still the point of not specializing too much, of not I don't know, attracting so much, for example, people from other sports or from the pro tour or whatever, but on opening up things, and this is part of not being competitive, makes the Dirty Kansa even more beautiful, even more open, and even more embracing and cultural important. That's why actually I'm really happy that you are continuing, for example, with just doing the Dirty Kansa Excel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's opening yourself to another kind of people, another kind of audience, that in terms of participants, in terms of people that are following you and everything. Otherwise, you would never code them, and still you would not share the culture of cycling in this way, in your own way, that
Yeah.
you're actually, pushing forward. If you have just to specialize in your own thing because you're going to be the best or whatever, it's really optimizing too much. I call it here at work, because I'm a marketing manager. When you're a digital marketing manager, when you are optimizing too much a campaign, you are bringing it to death, for sure, because you're not going to open to anything else. It's going to be the best of its niche, but it's not going to be open to everybody. And that's the cool thing of being a bit more open
Right.
than just competitive.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and it's a worldwide. Like I said, it's a universal language. Like I said earlier, it's so beautiful to see this happening, because I think it's clear cycling needed it. Cycling was reaching a point where it needed gravel and the gravel mindset. So,
Yeah.
but Stefano, I have run out of wine, and I fear that means we've
Yeah.
exhausted our time here. I would love to nothing more than to continue this conversation, but out of respect for our listeners, our viewers' time, they're probably ready to get back to their Saturday morning, and so we should probably say ciao to all of them. But I do want to remind folks, because I didn't mention this at the start. Stefano, obviously, you were a wonderful guest, shared so much knowledge with us, but people can follow along with you because you have both a writing outlet in Calamaro cycling content, and then a podcast called Broom Wagon that people can listen to more of your interviews as you talk with other influencers within the cycling community. So I highly encourage our viewers to seek out Stefano through those channels, give him a follow, and in your spare time, since we all have a little extra downtime now, give a listen to some of those podcasts, because you are just an absolute marvel of knowledge and insight into cycling and the gravel scene there in Italy and beyond. So thank you.
You're making me blushing, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate this talk with you. And yeah,
Well, ciao for now, and until next time.
thank you. Enjoy your day to everybody. Enjoy your day, Leland. And thanks a lot for having me.